Welcome to Free to Speak, the New Zealand Free Speech Union podcast. If you enjoy the show, subscribe for uncensored conversations and free speech news from New Zealand and beyond.
Kia ora, and welcome to Free to Speak, the official podcast of the New Zealand Free Speech Union. My name is Dane Giraud. I am the host of this podcast, and joining us today is none other than Annie O'Brien. Kia ora, Annie, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
So Annie's got some exciting stuff coming up. A tour. Annie is going on tour.
That?
Like, what a rock star.
Who would have thought?
The Good Faith Yarns Tour. That's a name, isn't it? I got that right.
Yeah, it's a play on the fact that sometimes in conversations we have about political things, we tell each other to GFY. And then I realized that it could stand for Good Faith Yarns instead.
Nice. So what we're going to be doing today on this podcast, we'll catch up with Annie, but we're going to go through a few of the dates here and talk about the type of people Annie's going to be engaging with, and they're very diverse, and it's fantastic. There's going to be so many fantastic topics that you touch on. So it's a really exciting tour. And very regional, like they're quite regional specific, aren't they? Not all of them, but a lot of them really are. So that's quite exciting for punters as well.
It is, yeah. So we've tried to kind of cover a lot of bases, but we wanted to talk about things that felt relevant to different areas, or at least were kind of interesting national conversations that we're having.
Or that we're not having.
Or that we should be having.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've kind of ended up with a nice mix, I think. There's definitely a theme. A few of them are around treaty, race relations type things, which I think, it shows it's a very important topic for a lot of people at the moment in New Zealand.
It's one of the taboos, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we're kind of approaching it differently at a few different stops along the way.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Well, before we start, so, Annie, an eventful year. Can you give us a bit of a rundown? Or do you need me to prompt you on all the mischief you've been up to?
I have not been up to mischief, Dane Giraud. Yeah, I guess I decided about a year and a half ago, really, maybe longer, that I would just write. I felt like there was a gap in terms of talking about some challenging issues from different perspectives. And so I started a Substack, which I've kept free because I wanted everyone to be able to access it. And then it has kind of gone from just being my musings about politics, I do a weekly wrap up, to causing a bit of bother around the place. And it happened that I don't know how long ago, was it a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, having studiously ignored all of my writing, the mainstream media picked up one particular piece that I wrote about an incident involving then TVNZ political editor Mikey Sherman.
Oh, that's a few months ago now. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So there's been a lot of, I guess, reaction to all of that, and this, I think people thought that I'd somehow manufactured this whole thing of like an attack on Mikey, but really the mainstream media had not interacted with any of my work up until that point, so I'm not sure why I would expect that they would have interacted with this particular topic. I mostly actually was not really interested in Mikey's incident itself. I was more interested in kind of, I guess, a free speech adjacent issue, which was that what don't we know is happening behind the scenes, because the media is clearly invested in covering up stuff they don't want out because it's about them, or it's about something in Parliament that they would rather not talk about. So for me, it was actually about media behaviour as a collective and what we are not seeing, rather than being about Mikey herself. But yeah, it kind of blew up quite a lot and has become a thing.
Yeah, it definitely became a thing. On that topic about, what the media chooses to run with and chooses not to run with, obviously we've been victim of that. When the was it Speak Up for Women? Daphne Whitmore definitely took the case in Palmerston North when feminists were being barred from using the library. I think it was a library down there, wasn't it? We've had so many wins in it so long ago that I'm sort of getting a bit
No, well, we
hazy on
used,
that.
I was involved with Speak Up for Women back then. I was the spokeswoman, and we used to have many stories that we'd give to the media. We'd do polling. We'd talk about women's rights, and they'd never touch them. They would never. Um, but as soon as there was something they felt they could bash us with, and make us seem like really the bad guys, then it was on the media. And so they took the side of anyone who used the thugs veto to try and shut us down. We were kicked out of so many different locations, and myself and a few others were banned from Massey University. It's all the old things that we were dealing with at that time. And so, yeah, I kind of have that experience with the media of knowing how selective they are, and how there is a groupthink in which there are certain issues which they have latched onto. They have an acceptable opinion. So in this case, it was to do with the trans movement. The media was, as a whole, very supportive of the changes to law that we were opposed to. And it's the same with other things. If you were supportive of the Treaty Principles Bill, for example, you weren't going to get a fair hearing in the media this year. So it's different political issues, usually attached to identity, that the media has latched onto and said, this is the acceptable view, this is the unacceptable view, and we are only going to report within those parameters.
Well, in the case of that win against Palmerston North City Council, this wasn't an opinion piece being rejected. This was a major win in the courts. And I think they got it just a tiny little, few columns 3 or 4 days later, hoping it would just be buried. There was nothing.
It was a massive win. One of the most important lines in it, which we all kind of cried about, was the judge said that we could not possibly be considered a hate group, because he assessed everything that we'd said and stuff. And the media had been calling us hate group, extremists, TERFs, bigots, all of that. And so it was incredible to see it written in a judgment. And as you say, the media was never, ever going to report on that. They were never going to say, actually, maybe we got this wrong. Maybe they are a group of women who are concerned about women's rights.
Yeah. Well, look, just to push back on you a little, the term editor, an editor edits. They do have to make decisions about what goes in, what goes out. So it's like, that is part of the job. How would you respond to that? How do you get around that?
Well, an editor should edit. They should edit for quality, and they should edit for factual content. And also, inevitably, every publication has its own editorial stance on things, that's for sure. However, it's my argument that media, especially public interest, taxpayer-funded media.
Yeah, that's very different.
Should be approaching it. The editor's job should be to create balance and to go, okay, we've got this piece here on this issue. Have we told the facts of the story? Have we presented a comment from this side and this side and this side, and let it all lay? Or have we said, this is what you should believe, these are the bad guys and these are the good guys? And that's the role of an editor as well, is to look and go, actually, my journalist's bias is really obvious in this. Maybe I should send it back to them and tell them to, write it again.
Yeah, because surely we know. But I guess, some convictions are just, all depends. I tend to be a person, I'm more in the grey anyway. I'm a bit of a grey area type character. I prefer, I'm not talking about my whiskers, but even though the silver fox, I got that working at the moment. You shouldn't be looking at that. But there are people that have that sort of religious conviction about certain topics. There's a lot of woke people that it's like Christ has risen. That's the way they view a lot of these topics.
And just if you see any professional, right, any example of a professional doing a service, if they are super religious and it's nothing to do with the service they're providing, you probably would say, don't be super religious right now. I'm not interested in it. Likewise with wokeness, I do not want to hear your wokeness in this situation. Whether it's a journalist, if I've got a Christian journalist writing about a sporting match, I do not want to hear the Christian stuff coming through it. I want to hear about the sporting match. Likewise, I don't want to hear every DEI opinion or whatever woke stance they can put on it. I want to hear about the sporting match. And so I think that their religious fervor, even though it's not religion, is very comparable, and we don't accept it from other belief systems. So why are we expected to accept it from them?
Well, I would actually say that neutrality for a journalist is professionalism. That's how you would define it. Like you would define a professional journalist by someone that was able to keep, to put their opinions aside and write an unbiased piece. If they can't do that, I'd view them more as an amateur,
Yeah, or they're a commentator or whatever. Like it's funny. Some people love to tell me that I'm not a journalist, and I say, correct, I'm not a journalist. Others like to tell me that I'm a very good journalist and I should be a journalist or whatever. But I still would say, look, I'm not, because I am not trying to fill that role that the media should be doing, because I'm just one woman with a Substack. And I'm very clear when I write. When I do my wrap-ups, I am reporting on what I know, and it's usually in a more colloquial tone than you would see in the media. However, when I write most of my kind of longer pieces, they're not trying to be journalism. I generally do tell you what my opinion is in it. And so, but I'm not trying to be a journalist. I'm commenting, I'm writing, I'm a storyteller. I try to make it clear when I'm dealing in fact, when I'm dealing with opinion. But if I was working for a newspaper as a journalist, I would expect myself to be neutral and to not be providing the opinions that I do.
Well, that's how I always approach documentary. I always approach documentary like that. It was never the Dane Giraud show. I handed the mic to the people that I was making the documentary on and really let them, and they'd often say things I didn't personally agree with, but it would turn up in the edit because that was who they were. I mean, I had no problem doing that. I didn't find it that hard at all. It's interesting though, like you got me thinking, if someone is really polemic, writing, polemical pieces, there's a service in that too, because if you're really head up about someone, you are likely to dig a little deeper than your 9-to-5 journalist who is like, like
exactly. I mean, there's a role for everything. I know
there's a role for everything. Yeah.
A lot of when I write super polemic or super opinionated writing, a lot of people enjoy it mostly because it's a perspective they agree with, but that they're not seeing in the mainstream media. And so that's why they feel an affinity to it. But for example, as part of my work, I do a lot of ghostwriting. And so I wrote as somebody else.
So do I.
And so I am in that moment, I take off any politics, anything that I have, any belief I have, and I put on the hat of the person that I'm writing for. And so as a journalist, that should be the process. You're taking off the hat, which is your own political belief and convictions, and putting on the journalistic hat, which is I'm going to tell the facts of the story, and then I am going to report on the relevant stakeholders, whoever it is, has said this, they've said this, and let it land for people. And so I think it's a natural part of writing. Like I also have written fiction, in which case I have done something completely different, which is enter a different reality and create, I guess, a fictional story which is imbued with the particular values and beliefs and stuff I want to imbue in it. So, yeah.
In a lot of my film scripts, I'm working on 2 at the moment, and 2 of the main characters are people that I wouldn't ever gravitate towards. But it's interesting that,
That's fun though. I love writing like that.
I love that. And I love that God has sort of given me that opportunity, because it's like, no, step into these shoes.
Mm.
You know, I always come out of jobs like that, and same with documentary, with a lot more sympathy for all the people that I have
Mm.
engaged with.
It is
It's
humanizing, and I
yeah,
think, I find it really interesting. There's obviously, in amongst all the censoriousness of the last decade or so, there's been this cancellation of books and movies that depict people or beliefs that people consider odious, whoever the censors are. And, um, I kinda think actually how we explore some of the ugliest ideas and come up with responses to them and figure out that we find that they're ugly is by seeing a depiction of them, in text or in a film. And so if we erase all and we all become these beige, opinionless, woke characters, and that's all we're allowed to consume, and that's basically what's happened to Hollywood, right? Is that it just beiged everything, and so no one wants to go to the movies anymore. Um, and I think actually getting into a character who you detest or who has done something awful or believes something awful is actually a really worthy exercise anyway, because it helps us to situate ourselves in these politics. And it's also just super interesting.
well, there's another aspect to that too, and that, and this isn't, I don't think, talked about enough. If you look at the resumes or CVs of the great directors, they are looking for the most controversial thing they can find at the time.
Not
Like,
anymore though. Now
w
it's not.
no, but see, this is interesting because controversy is connected with talent a lot. That's
Yeah.
my point. Like Alfred Hitchcock in 1959, he's getting older at that point. He's done Rebecca, which was, had a lesbian character and clear subtext there. So he's pushing it.
Was
He's
that the one
what
based on the novel?
on the novel, on the Daphne du Maurier novel. Yeah. It's really, really good.
Mm.
Um,
I think I've
but
seen a more modern,
no, see his one. See his one. It's black and white. It's very atmospheric. It's
Mhm.
quite amazing. But he gets to 1959, and then he decides he needs to do something to sort of, like, get his mojo back and make him the dangerous, the big dog, in the yard again. So he does Psycho. Now, people are screaming in the cinemas. It's just people are losing their minds.
Yeah.
This is 1960, and the killer is basically a transvestite who thinks he's his mother. Oh, no, hold on. No, I'm spoiling it for all you people.
Oh my god, if you Psycho in 2026, just like there are no spoiler alerts.
If you haven't seen Psycho in 2026, I hate you, actually.
But
No, but
also he was based on Ed Gein, wasn't he?
well, as was Leatherface from the
Mm.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, same thing. But, that's a risk in 1960. I mean,
I
that's
don't think it was
massive.
back then because you were allowed to see the danger of, sexual deviancy. We're not allowed to see that anymore.
That's a big call. This is a whole episode, isn't it, people? Now we could get into it. No,
You
yeah,
will get cancelled if you interview me, you tell ya.
yeah. I think I am cancelled. No, I've got no idea.
You're probably cancelled by association by now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I get some interesting phone calls, and I go, "Oh, okay, they want to talk to me." It sort of takes you by surprise a bit, eh?
I'm
It's like,
like
oh.
I get phone calls and I'm like, "Oh, you're calling to say something nice to me?
Yeah, I know.
Like, hey?"
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, we're having too much fun. I knew this would happen. Let's get into promoting your tour, your fantastic tour, which I think is an amazing idea, and I love the
Courtesy
fact.
to Lane.
Yes, I love the fact you're going into the provinces and major centers too, and having these conversations. We have a lot of international great people come out here, but we've got a lot of talent at home too. So this is fantastic, and you're so articulate. You do the work. You're so smart. It's going to be just wonderful. Um,
I'll come back if you're gonna be this nice.
cool. Okay, so our first stop on the Good Faith Yarns tour is in Queenstown, correct?
Yes, 21st.
On the 21st of July in Queenstown. So
Mhm.
that's going to be happening at, so where are we? Sherwood,
Sherwood.
Queenstown. Is that a hotel or something?
You'd
The
have to
Sherwood.
ask them.
Yeah, go
I'm just,
online,
like,
people.
showing up when I'm like,
Yeah,
"Where do I go?"
don't take our word for it. Um, I'm a great promoter.
Google it.
Um, yeah. No, all on that. All this information will be on our Facebook page. Seriously, and you can contact us.
Yep, and on the
Um,
website,
yeah,
fsu.nz/events.
100%. Yeah. So Sherwood, Queenstown, it says 554 Frankton Road, Queenstown. So there's an address here. So the speaker you have there is John Glover, the Mayor of Queenstown Lakes District. So what's that conversation going to be about?
Well, we've actually added a second speaker to that event. So we've got,
Oh, okay.
and we have got John Glover, who's the mayor, and we've also added Mike Casey, who is the cherry farmer who is better known for his involvement in rewiring Aotearoa. So he's the solar energy guy, and he's just had a massive announcement today around this government picking up one of his ideas around funding of solar, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the reason why he's joined is because a lot of the conversation in Queenstown is about how it's this tourism hub that is just like kind of exploded, and they haven't kept up infrastructure wise, and there are a lot of challenges because of that. And so the mayor is going to talk to that, but also we thought Mike would have some interesting perspectives around, because obviously with expansion, energy is a massive element to it. And then we'll also just talk about other stuff that is affecting Queenstown. You know, we've got the mayor there, he'll know all the stuff. And then as with all of our events, we'll finish up the substantive interview and we'll just have open floor Q&A. Doesn't have to be about what we spoke about. If there's questions for the speakers or for me, we'll just have a bit of a yarn, and then afterwards we'll just have a drink and have more informal yarn.
Great. So that's on Tuesday, the 21st of July,
Mhm.
6:30 to 8 p.m. John Glover, Mayor of Queenstown Lakes District, but all the information for all of these events is going to be on our website. So moving on. So this one really interests me. I wish I could get down to Christchurch for this. So an evening with Professor Te Mare Tau,
Yep.
Ūpoko of Ngāi Tua.
He's Ngāi Tahu, yeah.
Yeah, Ūpoko of Ngāi Tūāhuriri, historian of oral traditions and tribal genealogies, one of the country's most authoritative voices on Indigenous knowledge and Te Tiriti o Waitangi. So that's a big fish, maybe not as big as a North Island.
Yeah, so
So,
this is one I'm really looking forward to because, as I said, a few of our different stops have different conversations about treaty and race issues and that kind of thing. So we'll look at it differently in different places. But this one in Christchurch, I particularly asked if we could discuss basically a more like modern take. So what are relations like after the Treaty Principles Bill? So we've had this kind of shake up. There was a bit of cage rattling. Now what's the status quo? What does the future look like for New Zealand? And I guess he's going to come in it from a Ngāi Tahu perspective, which can be quite different from North Island iwi, but I think it will be a really interesting discussion because he's obviously incredibly well read on the history of it as well. And I'm hoping that we can kind of distill like a bit of an autopsy of the Treaty Principles Bill fallout, and where we go from here.
yeah, okay. So, like, as Good Faith Yarns, are you intending on pushing back on a lot of speakers, or is this just about drawing out opinion from a chap like this? How fixed is your opinion on this topic, for example? I mean, are you going in there with quite a firm, I mean, open to be persuaded, obviously, but with quite a firm view on it, and you're expecting to butt heads a little, like, or
Um,
or have you not really thought about
well,
it
no,
in that regard?
I have thought strong. I said to Jelaine and the team when we were first discussing this that I didn't want to have debates. I didn't want to
Mm,
like have screaming matches or punch ups, you know,
no.
I wanted to have conversations. And so while I do expect that my perspective will be different from the Professor Te Mare Tau's beliefs, I don't intend to debate him on it. I'd like us to discuss it in a kind of more chill manner. So I will question things like social cohesion, what it means to be a New Zealander, how we can continue to have a situation where the people with one set of ancestry have a different set of rights or responsibilities or obligations, or whatever you want to call it. So I will ask those questions, but I'm really hoping we can have the conversation in a super chill manner, which is just actually teasing out some of the disagreement that exists in the wider community about it. Because I think we see people screaming at each other about it online. And if we can take a breath, all right, let's actually talk about some of this stuff. What is the objection to this particular point of view? And let's work through it. So I do anticipate we will disagree. I do. But the point is that I am going to attempt to model the behaviour that we advocate for, which is to disagree without it devolving into name-calling and hostility. Because I think, I'm sure that I will still admire the professor's amazing resume and the work that he's done, even if I disagree with some of the stuff that he says.
Yeah, and a stiff question doesn't necessarily mean a debate, because to get I did my RNZ panel yesterday.
You're so mainstream now.
I know I'm mainstream. I've gone mainstream. I might need to lose this. They wanted me to lose this. I said, I'm not losing it. No.
I'm relatable. I'm a man of the people.
Yeah, this defines me, as someone a bit more sort of earthy, I'm a bit West Auckland, a bit South Auckland, a bit rural, all of that, I've thought it through. Nothing's accidental with Dane Giraud. You should know that, Ellie. No, but on the panel, I got hit with a question, and it was a tough one. Well, not a question, a response, which was, had a bit of starch in it. It was a gift. It actually brought a deeper level out of me to the debate that I was making. So we want that. It can feel a bit, oh God, how am I going to respond to that?
Well, sometimes you do get you feel very strongly about your views and your position, and someone says something to you, especially if there's people watching, there's an audience situation, and you go, oh, I hadn't heard that one before. How do I respond to that? And it is hard, because often we've come to our views through a long time of experience and thinking and stuff. And so when you get something thrown at you like that, you kind of go, woo. But I actually think there's also a bit of, there's value in having the humility sometimes to say, well, never heard that argument before. You've actually made me think. I might have to get back to you on X, Y, Z.
And too often we don't. And no, you're right. It's too often we don't. We want to save face. It's live on the air or wherever, it's going to be on a stage and people are there. But we should have the humility. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because we may feel like we're being embarrassed, but we're probably earning a lot of respect from an audience when we say, I'd really need to take that one away. That's a really good, interesting perspective. It's one I haven't reckoned with. Maybe even can you unpack it further?
Yeah. I think as well, it depends on the mindset you enter things in. Sometimes you go into discussions or debates, especially if it's called a debate, and you go in with a combative mindset, and it's about winning your point. And I think it's important for me when I do this tour, when I do each event, is I don't want to enter it with that mindset. And that's why I made the distinction with Jelaine of I don't want to have debates. Because when you enter with this thing of I have to win, but I'm not trying to win anything with this. I'm trying to have a conversation where we
model conversation,
look at different perspectives. Hopefully someone in the audience will pose a question to either of us that challenges something that we said. And if you go in thinking you're trying to win, then that's a threat to that. Whereas if you go in just wanting to listen and engage, then if someone throws a kind of curly thing your way, it's just part of the process, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, we'll move on. This is all good though. So I got my notes here, people. I got my notes.
Dunedin.
Yep. So then we're off to Dunedin.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to sit down with Pat Brittington. No, I'm only joking.
Oh my God. As if he would, he talks about me a lot, but he's never
Yeah.
spoken to me.
Yeah. He
He's
should have
my,
you on.
my biggest fan.
Yeah, he is. He's a fan. You've got a few fans out there. Another one's Philip Matthews, big fan.
No, like I'm probably the single most like obsessed about lesbian by men in this country. Like,
yeah,
they just obsess about me, and it's half of the stuff they think I stand for. I'm like, where did you get this from? But honestly, like, people send me links to this Pat guy's shows, like, oh, they were talking about you again. I'm like, I haven't even done anything this week. Like, I just, went to work, went home to my partner. Like, I just lived this week, and they are like, oh my God, she's the devil.
yeah. They're real lightweights as well. Like, like often they'll say, "What about this?" and they'll try to sort of own people by going, "Well, she said that, but what about that?" And it's like, dude, that makes no sense.
I just honestly, I can hold more than one opinion at the same time, like anyone else. I can, as I say, like, the thing they object to the most is my stance on women's rights versus, the kind of demands from the trans community. And I can hold the opinion that I hope that people who identify as trans are not discriminated against and live their lives as happy and healthily as they can. Great. I can hold that and still advocate for legislation and policies that protect women.
But if they
they're
can't
not different things.
if they can't villainize you,
Yeah.
then they really have to contend with the substance of the argument.
Mm.
Like, if you're human, if you're a villain, nothing you say is going to be worth listening to because it's coming out of the mouth of a villain. It's like, that's what it's about. Of course there's nuance here. I mean, even yesterday on RNZ again, like, I brought up Georgina Beyer, and there was a bit of a snide comment towards my attitudes. It's like, this dude,
you and
you
I
don't
both
know.
had lunch with Georgina
We
not
had-
long before she died.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking about that. Yeah, we had lunch together. It was
Yeah.
and I went out for a few long lunches with Georgina. Don't try to guess people's views, people.
But
Ask
also,
them.
it's never been like, they've never reconciled the fact that the Births, Deaths, Marriages, Relationships Registration Act working group that the government put together, the Labour government, Georgina was on that working group and mysteriously was removed. And they made some comment about her being busy or tired or something. But it was because Georgina was advancing arguments that I would advance around balancing rights. And so the rest of the group were not having it.
Yeah, that's true. Georgina became very marginalized by many activists.
Because they still wanted to be like,
Yep. Well, a lot of people want to use her name, but they're sort of misrepresenting her a lot. Okay, so we get here. So Archway 3 Lecture Theatre, Otago University. And that's on Thursday, the 23rd of July. And so Ian Taylor. So another big fish.
I'm excited. He's what I really appreciate about him is that when he does his opinion pieces, when Labour was in charge, he was getting stuck in over there. And when National's in charge, he gets stuck in, and he just isn't having any of anyone's bullshit, really.
So what's that going to be about?
So we're going to look at technology because that is his kind of area. He obviously has built his businesses around it's sport technology is what his main thing is with the cricket and whatnot.
And the yachting.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Incredible. Like, I don't think a lot of people realize how transformative all that business has been for sport. And so, I think we're going to talk about developments in technology. I'm hoping to get into some of the ethics around it because I think he's an interesting person to talk to about that. Also, to be honest, even though I've said it's about that, I do want to get into some of the other politics because he's obviously a political person, despite being someone not involved directly in politics. So I do want to tease out some of that stuff as well. So I think if anyone comes along to that, they'll probably get quite a varied discussion. And we'll have a chance to ask him questions.
Neat. No, that's you want to take that offer. So from there, you're going all the way up north. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I've got a few days at home, and then I go up to
yeah. I actually reading this, I thought it's the next day. It's like, oh wow, no, it's the 27th of July, Northland Cricket Association, in Whangārei, and you are speaking to Davina Smolders.
Yes, so she is a counsellor from, as in like a local counsellor, not a psychologist, and she's from the Far North Council, and she has been at the centre of a lot of the controversy up there around unelected people being on council committees and voting. So the government's just recently said that they're going to legislate to ensure that only people who have been elected can take part in voting in local government.
She was part of the story with, wasn't there a mayor that told Duncan Garner to?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's the mayor is Moko Tapania, and he's the young Māori guy up there. He's an example of someone really young who clearly has developed a lot of trust in the community, and I'm very intrigued by his trajectory of his career actually. Similar actually to Tanya Tapso in Rotorua, another young Māori leader who clearly, judging by the last elections, has the support of her community. But he has been in a bit of a tussle with Davina. And
it shows his lack of years sometimes, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he told Duncan Garner to fuck off or get fucked or something, which, that's what Wayne Brown says on a daily to people, so I don't know why we're worried about it.
Yeah, he'll never be mistaken for being young, will he? So there you go.
No. So I'm really keen to talk to Davina about some of the politics of all that and all out. So she's been very brave in speaking out about stuff that she didn't agree with what was happening. A lot of people have listened, and she's arguably been very successful in promoting this law change. And she now still has to operate in that community, and she's made some enemies.
Yep.
We'll get there.
Okay, brave woman. So it'll be a good discussion. She'll probably go back over that case.
Yeah, so we'll go over that. We're going to talk about co-governance a bit, because ultimately that's what this all falls down into is the co-governing agreements between iwi and councils, because that is probably where the most meaty co-governance agreements are. It's not so much Crown as in like central government and iwi, it's the localized agreements they have. So I think we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm hoping that we'll have people in the audience who perhaps are from both sides, who see those co-governing agreements as good things, and others who see them as anti-democratic or whatever they see, and that we can tease it out a little bit.
Could get a little hot.
I think it probably will be, at the moment, I think it might be the most controversial one.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, yeah. So, speaking of Duncan Garner,
yes.
So you're going to be in Hamilton on the 28th, so the following night with Duncan Garner.
Yep.
And what's that going to be about?
So Duncan Garner spent 17 years in the press gallery before he then ended up on, I think, Breakfast Tally, and now he's doing his own thing. And he is a wealth of stories. I said to him, where is his biography, his autobiography? And he's like, oh man, I'd never be able to leave the house if I wrote that. I'd be, get myself in so much trouble.
He doesn't have much of a filter. He probably won't have a filter that night.
No. So what I anticipate will happen is we'll talk about his experiences in the press gallery, as well as reflect on the current state of media, particularly political media. And so I think it could be a very juicy one.
Oh, juicy. That one's going to be really juicy.
Yeah.
It could maybe R16 contains sexual content.
I'll tell him that you've got those expectations.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to Auckland.
Mhm.
That's on the 29th of July. And again, all of the details are going to be on our website and Facebook page and
Mhm.
everything. You'll find them. And that's with Rob Campbell,
Mhm.
economist, former Crown entity chair,
Mhm.
and the man at the centre of New Zealand's most high-profile public neutrality controversy in years. So
Mhm.
talk us through that. He was a unionist too, wasn't he, Rob?
Yes, he was. So
Mm.
I'm really excited. He's someone who's strongly from the left and has had a political free speech thing happen. So he was the chair of Health New Zealand, and he became outspoken about an issue completely separate from his work. So I think it was Three Waters when that all was kind of kicking off and everyone had an opinion. And it was it got to the point where he was advocating for positions that were different from the government's, and there was a bit of kind of tension with that, and so he ended up losing his position as chair of Health New Zealand. Now he's currently the chancellor of AUT, so it has not hurt his career. He's still very well respected, but it was just this is not tenable anymore. So the conversation that I'm hoping to have with him is about where is that line? Um, if we have these very, very senior public servants, we expect neutrality in regards to their work, and that is very important. We speak a lot about that. But also, where do we draw the line where they can't then engage with politics that sits in a kind of separate space? Is it that they have to give up all of their right to political opinion because of the importance of that role? Or is it that we actually can tolerate them weighing in on other issues
Yeah,
personally?
it's an interesting one, isn't it? We took a lot of heat for Grant Robinson, but it was the same,
Um,
very similar sort of
yeah.
situation where it's like if he's putting it out there, his opinions, which weren't really related to his
Oh,
job on letterheads and things like that, he's speaking for
I
the university.
don't think that Rob Campbell put anything on letterheads. I think it was him being, but obviously the person does
Social media, wasn't it, with him?
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we actually reached out to Grant Robertson and asked if he would be involved in the tour, and he declined. So otherwise,
Oh,
he
okay.
would be part of this conversation.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's a shame. Yeah, he could have been part of this conversation.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is an interesting one because I mean, I, I think about actors, right? So
Mm.
w- a lot of actors have been very vocal on Gaza, and a lot of actors have been very vocal on woke politics and all this kind of stuff. To me, I find it very hard to watch their films now.
Well,
There was a time when an actor would have known I got to be neutral. I have to just be a
because you're a blank
mask.
slate, so that then
I
you
need
go
to be
and
a bank.
yeah.
Yeah. And they would have even thought that if I loaded myself
Mm.
up with a lot of, I mean, if you're a sex symbol, scandal probably doesn't hurt you. That's part of the branding. But if you're an actor
Mm.
and, but you've got all this politics, you are potentially alienating 50% of your audience. Now, if you
Mm.
take that across to roles like this,
Mm.
I don't want anyone
That's
to be
the
shut down,
It's the
but
social argument, though, that you're making there, because what we have is the professional aspect of it. What right does his employer or the government or whatever have to stop him from speaking as he is part of this role? That is one thing. The other argument that I think you're making is that when we are in certain roles, acting or very important roles, if we don't kind of monitor ourselves and censor ourselves in certain ways, there can be consequences for how we're perceived. And that is a separate thing because we can make our own call on accepting those consequences or not. If you want to be a rabid activist like they are at the Oscars and stuff, I can't even watch it anymore because it does make it in so much. Um, you know, they are making the choice to well, I think some of them are not smart enough to realize, but they're making the choice to damage their career prospects in service of making a political statement. That is a choice. I don't, and I think we should be accepting of people making those choices. So if people want to damage their careers, then that's up to them, because they can make that choice of what matters more to them. Does it matter more to them that they get more acting roles and are able to gain more fame and be loved across the board? Or is it more important that they repeat a talking point they saw on Instagram?
Well, we know the answer, but often, and I'm victim to it too. Sometimes you lose discipline and you get emotional and you want to comment, but I mean, there's lots of topics I'm trying not to wade into a lot of stuff. I don't even have room left in my head for a start.
I figured that's one cool thing about what I do, is that it's kind of my whole role is to throw the grenades and start the conversations. And and so even though I still suffer consequences for it, right? Like I write something and it can be factual and it can be, or it could be my opinion or whatever. And it can get a massive backlash. But I write it because I see that as my role in New Zealand at this time to open up conversations on things that are not being opened up elsewhere. But I have to then wear those consequences, because otherwise everyone would be doing it. If
That's right. That's right. Some of us can do it, some of us can't do it. So let's move on to Tauranga, and you've got, and this is on the 30th of July. Dr. Alistair Reese and Dr. Paul Moon.
Yeah, Professor Paul Moon, yeah. So
Professor Paul Moon. It says doctor here. I don't think he's a doctor. Is he a doctor?
I think he's got a PhD. But
maybe he is a doctor. I'm sorry, Paul.
Paul has a lot of qualifications, I'll tell you that.
He's got a lot of books. He's got a lot of I call him Polder.
Queen's or King's Award of some kind. He might be a sir, I don't know.
No, he's not. No, he's not a sir. Calm down, Paul.
Anyway, I know. I've got two very, very clever gentlemen in Tauranga, and we played around with the topic a little bit, because we were initially going to kind of talk more about religion and spirituality, but as that's kind of Alistair Reese's kind of space, and also Paul Moon is a religious man with a lot of history expertise.
He's Orthodox, isn't he? I think he's an Orthodox Christian.
I don't know what kind
Could
of
be
Christian.
wrong on that. Yeah.
He's going to be like, oh my God, I need to fact check you guys on everything. But yeah, so we were going to do that. And then we kind of realized that we were going to talk about Māori spirituality, and it was two white guys doing it and me. And it was kind of like, if I'm going to talk about Māori spirituality, I'd like to probably talk about someone who is into that, and who's actually practicing it. Anyway, perceptions and all. So then we were like, okay, so let's have a look at this. What could we talk about? And what I find really interesting, just like I'm talking to Te Māori Tau about in Christchurch about how we feel about the treaty and about relations post Treaty Principles Bill, I'm going to do the opposite with these guys, and we're going to look at how our relationship with the treaty has looked and felt and been historically. So kind of leaning on both of their historical expertise and talking about how we view it now, the parameters around how we view the relationship are immensely different than how we have previously. And so I think it will be a very interesting historical discussion. I'm really looking forward to it. But also I think it brings up questions about how we got to the point we are now in terms of some of the tensions that have arisen, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's another treaty talk, but more a historical one.
We need more of these talks, because I think I would say 90% of the 95 to 97% of people that weigh in on these topics do not know enough to really weigh in on these topics. And it is criminal that we live in New Zealand and don't have that deep knowledge. So this is a gift, I think.
I think, to be fair to people, I think they're also afraid to engage. And so then they don't, the more you talk about things and investigate and kind of experience, then you learn, you gain knowledge, and then you're able to discuss better. I think a lot of people feel paralyzed and think they're going to be attacked if they try and engage with the topic. Now, I didn't, the bone in the body that apparently prevents you from defending yourself against attack, I do not have. So
You're tougher than me.
I just wade into these conversations.
Yeah.
But I think what's important for me when we have these conversations is I don't see it. I'm not going in to be antagonistic to people who disagree with me. I'm going in to hear what they have to say and share the perspective, the alternate perspective, and hope that we can gain more understanding of each other's perspective in the process. Who knows if that's actually going to change anything in that meeting that we have just there. But in the long run, if we have more of these conversations,
if we normalize disagreement,
yeah.
yep, no, 100%. This is what it's about. Yeah, no, 100%. So Palmerston North City Library, yeah, you're going back there. That's quite a gangster play going back there, Annie. And that's in the square. That's on the 4th of August, and that's with Liam here.
Yes, he is a friend of mine, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having a chat with him because
He's just down the road from me. He's just up the road. Yeah,
he is a local,
Yeah.
and he is an incredibly interesting guy, and he's a conservative.
I wouldn't go that far. No.
No, what I find interesting is that he is one of the few, like, he's a conservative commentator who the establishment left doesn't hate, and I think because he does soften how he approaches things. But he also is just a very likable kind of guy. And
he's very mature. He's mature. He I've said this, I can get emotional and just let rip on people. He wouldn't do that. He's got a maturity to him, which I do envy. It would make me a lot more effective as a communicator, no doubt. So no, he's great.
Maybe it's the lawyer in him as well. He's a lawyer. He's a father of 4, I think.
Really?
I think it's 4 now.
He's the Catholic, I'm the Jew, and we've got the same amount of kids. That you got to get busy, my man. What's going on here?
Look, you guys are doing your bit for the demographic crisis, okay?
100%.
Yeah, so we're just going to talk about, I mean, obviously he engages with the media a lot as a conservative in kind of enemy territory, if you will.
Yeah,
he's usually the only conservative on the block there.
Yeah.
He's also a lawyer, but I want to talk to him about politics, the media, and also those two things outside of Wellington. He lives in the regions.
Yeah.
He's got a different perspective. And so I think it's about also kind of having the conversation about what it's like outside of the bubble, even of Auckland and Wellington, maybe Christchurch as well, where it's outside of the big cities, if you will. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about that kind of thing and also just have a lot of fun. Him and I, when we catch up, have good yarns. So we'll just do it with a whole bunch of new friends.
I'll be there. I'll be at that one. Yep. It's just down the road. So
no, don't ask any trolley questions.
I'm going to have a list of them. 3 or 4 pages worth. Okay, so last one, and we'll wrap it up, is Wellington. And this is a debate. You're moderating a debate here, aren't you? So that's
this one's slightly different.
Yep. So Todd Stephenson of ACT, current MP, and Simon O'Connor, who was the national MP for Tamaki. He didn't get a seat back last election. Conservative Christian man.
I did vote for him, but unfortunately,
yeah, he's a Christian man.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and this is about a sister dying.
So the reason why I wanted to have this chat is because initially when we had the referendum, I voted for it. I was persuaded by David Seymour worked very hard on the bill and he did a lot of persuading. And I was like, okay, yep, you got me.
He brings arguments.
Yep.
He brings arguments.
Since then, I've engaged a lot with, because in Britain, they've been having this debate themselves, and they've had a lot of drama around it. And so I've been engaging with reading and listening to podcasts and stuff. And Kathleen Stock, who's another terrible turf like myself, she got involved in this debate and has written a book, and she has persuaded me the other way. So I voted for it, and now I'm like, oh no. And so I thought, okay, so we've got this piece of legislation that is likely to be attempted to expand. let's have ACT make their case, so Todd, and let's get someone who I know is going to be opposed to it, so Simon. And I'm kind of in the middle because I've previously supported it, but I now have some real worries. And so I figure that I'll kind of treat it as I'll get them to kind of persuade me.
Yeah, make it a learning evening. It's interesting, isn't it? Because the religious Jew in me doesn't like this at all. I mean, I understand if people are really in a bad
it's a fascinating topic because you have to really break. I recommend people read Kathleen Stock's book. I haven't even finished it, and I still recommend it because she breaks it down to its core arguments and to how we feel about death as human beings, as well as I guess the reality of medical treatment and palliative care and that kind of thing. And she breaks it down to the two main arguments for euthanasia are dignity and freedom. And it's a really interesting one because you can have people who agree that it should be allowed, but come from very different backgrounds. ACT tends to really be the freedom argument, but they have also delved into this idea of dignity and
yes.
And putting people out of their pain and that kind of thing. So it's such an interesting topic, and it doesn't to me anyway. I think it doesn't matter where you land on it. We're going to have an evening where we discuss one of the most complex ideas, which is, should there be a circumstance in which we humanely kill another human being, and we're okay with it?
Well, the comedian Bill Hicks, who was an amazing comedian, he said that people with terminal illnesses should have the choice to be able to get fucked up in a movie, like Bad Boys, that kind of big Michael Bay film. If they want to get blown up or go off a bridge, they should have that right. So I might actually write that. I don't want to lose that question. I'll write it down. Well, but look, that's the last one. It's on the 5th of August.
You say that.
Do you have a palate cleanser here? Because that's like a real...
No, we've actually got a couple of others. Because when we released the initial dates, we were told, why aren't you coming to here and here and here? So there's just a few others we're trying to see if we can make work. I don't want to get anyone's kind of like hopes up by saying...
Yeah. We won't mention the regions yet, but yeah, maybe
might be a few more. Yeah.
Yeah, something a little brighter to end on, you know what I mean? That's all right. No, it's going to be a fantastic, that will be a very provocative, thought-provoking, very fantastic night.
And that one's at Parliament, so we're going to have, it's a slightly bigger event. My whole idea is that afterwards we just go to the back benches, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'll come down for that too. I'll be there. You'll be like, oh, Dane's here again.
Oh, well, there's curly questions.
Yeah. All right, Annie. Hey, well, fantastic. It's going to be a fantastic tour.
Yeah.
What's your message to the people?
Oh, I'm just so keen to meet. I talk to people online all the time, free speech people and people who have engaged with my writing and whatnot. And I would love to meet as many of them as possible. And this is, I guess, a good opportunity to do that, to put some faces to names and that kind of thing. So come along and you can sit quietly, enjoy it, or you can get involved with some questions. And as I said, I'm kind of like, we'll do the event and then afterwards, these are not massive crowds. So those of us who want to stay and have a drink, we can continue conversations and, be a bit more informal and yeah.
Fantastic. So all the details for this, subscribe to the Free Speech Union if you haven't already, but all the details for this, will be on all of our socials. We'll be updating you with everything, but yeah, that's it. Fantastic. Annie, great talking, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you for listening to Free to Speak. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider sharing the podcast with others. We release new episodes regularly, and subscribing is the easiest way to stay up to date. If you have any questions, feedback or suggestions, you can contact us at podcast@fsu.nz. If you want to find out more about the New Zealand Free Speech Union, visit fsu.nz.